What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. For those of you who do not know, yesterday was the end of the extended rosters for all MLB teams. What this means is that during the lockout, with the shortened spring training and everything that went on, the MLB and the Players Union decided that every team in the league was allowed to carry one more pitching arm than they normally do. Normally it's 13 on a roster. Up until today, it was 14. Well, that changed, and now everyone has to get rid of one pitcher and bring up a position player to fill that void. For the Red Sox, that meant DFAing this guy Norwood. He was a pitcher from the Phillies that we'd picked up over the weekend for cash considerations. Really, he didn't have any impact on the team. That's not really the big news. What is the big news is who they decide to bring up to fill that void. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. Because on the surface, this may seem like the strangest roster move yet the Boston Red Sox have made in 2022. We're also going to go over why this move might make sense and see if it really is the strangest move the Red Sox have made this year. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk Red Sox content almost every single day, so if you enjoy that kind of stuff, consider hitting that button. Also, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on these videos. It helps it out a ton. And if you enjoy this content, share with a friend and see if they think it's the strangest move the Red Sox have made this year too. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. So who is the player that the Red Sox have decided to call up? The Red Sox called up Jeter down. Now on the surface, this is one of the strangest moves of all time, partly because last year he did not perform well at the plate and this year's not much better. It's actually kind of worse. He has a 181 average so far this year with an OPS of 694 and a strikeout rate of just about at 36%. None of those numbers, in my opinion, and probably your opinion too, I'm assuming, don't scream major league ready numbers to me. Defensively, he's a middle infielder. He plays a lot of shortstop for the Worcester Woo Sox. He can also play second base, which makes him relatively attractive to the Red Sox because right now they have a lot of outfielders on the bench, not a ton of middle infielders, and his defense is pretty okay. In 52 games, he has 8 errors, so nothing insane, but he's also not a below average defender. But it's still, the move doesn't make a ton of sense. So what I did was I went on Twitter and I had some fairly friendly interactions with people who know a lot more about the minor league system, with people who know a lot more about the inner workings of the Red Sox organization, and I kind of figured out why this move makes sense. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, but I also want you guys to let me know if you agree with this. Do you still think it's a strange move after I give my explanation? The big reason is because Kike and Arroyo are on the IL right now, which means two of your best 40-man options for a move like this are already with the club, Jarren Duran and Rob Refsnyder, probably the two most MLB ready prospects that we have that aren't a pitcher. So that kind of leaves you looking at the other two major league ready prospects, Connor Wong and Jeter Downs, who again, I don't really think is major league ready, but in terms of when you're comparing to everyone else, I guess you can put them in that category. Now, obviously, these aren't the only two players on our 40-man roster that aren't in the big leagues, but a lot of them who are considered major league ready by the club are pitchers. So obviously you can't bring those guys up. Connor Wong might have been a decent option because he is a catcher that can play all over the field. He's a utility player. He can play some middle infielder. My issue with Connor Wong in this situation is a couple of things. The first is that he's mainly a catcher, right? We already have two catchers, and while you could probably make the case to swap him and Plawecki, that's not the situation we're talking about right now. As for his defense in every other position, while he does have good defense behind the dish, I would say his defense in other positions is average at best, sometimes even below average. So in this scenario, position-wise, Connor Wong doesn't make a ton of sense. The other reason I don't love the idea of calling up Connor Wong is because this probably isn't a long-term move. Connor Wong only has a limited amount of options this year, and especially when you're talking in terms of backup catcher and a very good, decent backup catcher at that, I would probably wait and save those options for a time where he's more highly needed. So by process of eliminations, Downs is kind of the only man left standing. He gives you the ability to rest your middle infielders if it's needed, and on top of that, your defense that you're giving up when you're resting those guys isn't going anywhere when you're putting Downs in there. Obviously, the bat is a completely different story, but at the very least, he's not going to give up a ton of runs being at second base or shortstop. Then once one of the two people that I mentioned, Kike or Arroyo, come back from that IL, Downs will probably, most likely, 100% will be sent back down to the minor leagues. While on the surface, this seems like one of the strangest moves the Red Sox have made in a very long time regarding their roster construction, it makes sense when you dive deep into it, at least to me. Again, I want you guys to let me know if you think this is strange or not. The big thing for me and the more interesting conversation that we could have about this move is what the Red Sox are going to do with Duran and Refsnyder once Kike and Arroyo get back. Because in my opinion, that's much more interesting than Jeter Downs making his way up, probably doing nothing because he hasn't been doing anything all year for the Woo Sox anyways, and then ending up back down in Worcester in a week. But with Kike and Arroyo coming back, we have Refsnyder and Duran on this team, which means one of them are gonna have to go in the near future. Whether or not it's Duran or Refsnyder, maybe even Arroyo gets thrown into that mix, depending on how well Duran and Refsnyder have adapted to this team in this clubhouse and the play on the field, is going to be a really interesting video. In my opinion, the guy who they decide to send down is probably a guy who they are considering for trade pieces. Both Refsnyder and Duran's stock, since they've been up here, has gone up, even if it's just a little bit. I think Duran's gone up a lot more than Refsnyder has, but either way, their trade value has gone up. So I think that's going to be a pretty good indicator as to what we can look out for at the trade deadline when that does happen. Back to Jeter Downs, I don't think this was exactly what the Red Sox wanted to do. This is what the Red Sox did, basically by process of elimination, if you think about it, and it won't be a super long-term move. But again, let me know in the comment section down below if you like this move. Do you not like this move? Do you think it's strange? Do you not think it's strange? What do you think of Jeter Downs in general? I'm kind of fully out on Jeter Downs as a prospect. I don't think he'll ever be an impact player for the Red Sox. In fact, I'd be very happy to let him go for a pretty average to above average reliever. But I want you guys to let me know what your thoughts on Jeter Downs are too. Let me know all your thoughts down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, again, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day, and you guys have already made it to the end of this video. Also, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on these videos as well. It is the best way to help these videos out as well as this channel out. And if you made it to the end here and you enjoyed it, share with a friend. Let them know what's going on in this Red Sox organization too. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.